Nobody has any idea what the fuck is going on. I have a friend who likes to say, whenever she gets, I don't know, worked up, she goes, "What is happening?" So the title of this today is "What is happening?" Nobody knows what's happening. So we have a ceasefire. It's based on Iran's 10 points. It's based on um, 15 points. It's negotiated by the Pakistanis. Overnight, Israel continued to hit Hezbollah. A missile has hit what's it called? The Petro line. The Petro line is I just read that 10 minutes ago, is the name of the line that goes across Saudi Arabia. That's been hit. And just as I was pulling this up, it said that the Straits of Hormuz are closed again. So nobody has any idea what's going on. War is the father of all. That's Heraclitus. Somewhat obscure pre-Socratic, pre-Plato philosopher. So where to begin? So there's two ways to look at this. This is Trump, runs the world. Trump is insane. Trump is Lucifer. That's probably what I'm going to do this Sunday is talk. These are the Luciferians. Remember, Lucifer was God's fallen angel, and Lucifer turned against God and is against God, is against the universe, is against creation, is against mankind, just bellers out, "We're going to destroy your civilization." And then, of course, right before the deadline, he announces a ceasefire. So it could be that Trump runs the world. I am skeptical of that. I think where we are is what the whole plan of the war on terror was to rake all of the Middle East, sort of in the name of Greater Israel, but that's not really even what's going on. That the famous guy, Professor Jiang, says the same thing. The Pax Judaica is not really ruled by the Jews. There's something else going on here. And I think, the good Sheikh Imran Hussein believes that what they've done is they've torn up the Middle East again, the Gulf states, so that all of that energy can be rerouted up to Gaza. Gaza is going to become, their plan is to make Gaza into like a kind of a city of London, like a free state, like a Singapore or something. That has no taxes, doesn't really have any even national control. And by doing this, I'm trying to make some sense of what just happened with Iran. Like, why would we just sort of bomb the shit out of Iran and then stop? Of course, the moral of the story may be that it has not stopped. Well, what I'm getting at is it might be this simple. Is for the last 75 years, the oil all gets put on a tanker and goes through the Straits of Hormuz. So we fucked that whole thing up. We fucked up all the refineries, the pipelines, the gas lines, and everything. And now it's all going to be rebuilt to send it all up northeast towards Israel and then on to Greece and Europe. That makes a lot of sense, right? And then in the process, Trump even used the word reconstruction, which is funny because that's the word I use all the time. We'll get to that in just a minute. But the idea is just blow everything up and start over. And then we'll make a deal with China. China will put pressure on Iran. Hey, you got to do this because we don't want $300 oil. So you got to make a deal with the Americans, and on like this. And it might work. It might work. But just know that a lot of babies have their skin burnt off so that this can work. I mean, it's that awful, right? There's a video that seems to have like found its way on a Substack by Abby Martin, who's probably the only real leftist journalist in America. She's like you never see her anywhere. She's beautiful, and of course they'll never put her on cable TV. Never. She was on RT for a long time, and she went to Israel and just did all these interviews, and like these people are psychopaths. By the way, I just took a picture. I'm going to post it right when I'm done here. This little evangelical church down over the hill here has it usually has an American flag right beside an Israeli flag on an evangelical church. And my thing on here is that we live in this kind of Judeo-Christian mishmash. That's what I did my piece on last Sunday. So Trump said one civilization is going to be destroyed last night, and of course, it didn't go all the way through. But I would suggest if they're not able to make this big Gaza board of peace, India to Israel corridor of all the oil and gas and petrochemicals and so forth. So they're taking out the old system, putting in the new system. The problem is, you really should subscribe to Elon Mizrahi and listen to him. And I tried to do it this morning with some AI. I tried to snatch about 6 or 7 minutes out of his latest video. It's in it's on Substack. He's no longer going to post to YouTube. He says because they censor you, they run ads, and you never get paid. It's the same thing I experienced with TikTok. You make all this, all you get is censorship from your partner who you're making all this content for. It's really a Web 2.0 problem, right? And we're all going to go to Web 3.0 where we all get paid for, if we're making good content and people like it, you deserve to get paid for it. But anyways, he said what's happening through all this is this magic of the Zohar, the Zohan. He mentions it. He says the magic superhuman Ubermensch that the Israelis purport to be, that he specifically says Ashkenazi, and he's an Arabic Jew. That's what the word Mizrahi means. And he said what has happened with the war, with Gaza and with the war in Iran, is people don't believe that anymore. And they're seeing what's happening in Lebanon. They're seeing that these are not the supermen that they purport to be. They're not untouchable. They're not infallible. So my point to you today is it sort of looks like there's a ceasefire, but there's not. It sort of looks like the purpose of the ceasefire, what Trump wanted to do, is just push Iran back 30 years in the name of ending their nuclear program. But what he's really trying to do is restructure all the oil and gas of the Middle East. But you might be careful what you wish for. You might get it, because it's not inconceivable that Iran would get all of it. And what I mean, I don't really mean like Iran's going to conquer the Middle East. What I mean is the Shia militia, 100,000 in Lebanon, 100,000 in Iraq, several 100,000 in Yemen. There's probably underground militia in places like Bahrain. We haven't even gotten to that point yet, right? So this is sort of my point. Like, we had this big missile and bomb exchange, sort of like the Ukraine. Okay, we'll just let the Russians just bomb the Ukrainians into like a genocide. That was the purpose of the war in Ukraine, was to get rid of the Ukrainians. It wasn't to drive the Russians out of eastern Ukraine, because Putin would say every week, he said, well, if we start to lose, we're just going to have to use tactical nuclear weapons. So there's something else going on here, folks. Now, so I'm sort of like you are. I'm sort of like in the middle of it. Like, is this really going to work? Is the ceasefire going to hold? Where's the price of oil going to be? Where's the stock market? Blah, blah, blah. And I think the bigger question is, Is like the Rothschild plan for the Middle East going to win the day? Or is finally there's like a new Eurasian thing led by Iran? Mizrahi seems to think that he keeps calling it West Asia. It's like a Eurasian thing. um, I don't know. I also don't know, like when you go down and see these little evangelical churches with a Israeli flag on them, like what does an Israeli flag have to do with a Christian church? Well, we've been spending a lot of time trying to explain to you that Judeo-Christianity is its own thing. And if I had to spoof Trump's thing last night where he said that, I think he said one civilization is going to die tonight or something like, yeah, there's an irony to that, isn't it? The irony could be that the civilization that's going to die is this thing called Judeo-Christian. It's not European Christianity. It's not old Christianity. It's something new. It's something specific to America. That's why last Sunday I went through a whole book called American Religion, the Emergence of the Post-Christian Nation. This is this Judeo-Christian thing. And really, Americans don't really care what's going on. Like, the only thing they care about is the price at the pump. Nobody cares that bridges are getting blown up or children are getting blown. Nobody cares. Nobody even fucking cares what Epstein did. Nobody does anything. Nobody cares. That's my point. Like, our civilization, we're all part of Trump, Epstein, Wexner, Rothschild. We're all part. You're not going to ever really cure Americans of that. We're not all going to start smoking weed and listening to Abby Martin. It's just not going to happen. Even the left, I don't know, like MSNBC this morning is like, yeah, Trump's insane. And then they have Richard Haas on, like Mr. Imperial. Like, he is Mr. Imperialism. It's not going to change, people. It's not going to change unless it collapses, unless it becomes completely untenable. And that's a whole nother Guinness right there. I mean, that's a whole nother thing where the entire Judeo-Christian worldview that America represents, especially which is completely triumphant since the end of World War II, which is held by all baby boomers. All baby boomers believe in that Judeo-Christian thing. We sort of got sideways in Vietnam. We got out of that, but, it was just sort of a flawed thing. So we just declared victory and got out. I don't think that's going to work this time. So I'll just take a minute and make an argument that we are at the end of this war. This is my point, is that Trump has achieved about 80-90% of what he wanted to achieve, which is just to bomb the shit out of Iran. That's all. There's no there's no defined, Linda. The purpose of the war on terror is war. There's no end game. It's just an ever expansive. We got to go get Al Qaeda, and then ISIS is in Syria, but we're fighting Assad, and ISIS is fighting Assad, but we're there now. And now Russia's there, and everybody's fighting everybody, and let's blow up Libya too. And it's just war. It's just imperialism. It's just the East Asia Trading Company just running all over Asia and blowing shit up and finding things to steal. There's just isn't a more thoughtful explanation of the war on terror. So the head of the Shia militias, not the army, but the militias, the popular militia, just arrived in Tehran from Iraq. He's known as the Angel of Death. We'll get to that in a minute. So, what does it look like at the end of the war? You have lots of people asking for the removal of the leader. That has happened. Lots of people are talking 25th Amendment, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's one that I'd point out to you because she's insane, which in America means she's sane and everybody else is insane. So everybody hates Marjorie Taylor Greene. The left hates her, the right hates her, MAGA hates her, Trump hates her, the feminists hate her, lesbians hate, everybody hates Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's really the only person who has her shit together. So they're asking for the removal of Trump. Generals are not obeying orders. That's the new thing that's coming out from the Pentagon, is they're giving these orders to do these massive attacks on civilian infrastructure, and the generals are just like, no, that's illegal. Remove the leader. The leader is no longer accepted, and the generals are no longer, sort of like the movie Downfall, where Hitler is with his guys, and they're like, what about the 11th Division? And they all look at each other and go, the 11th Division doesn't exist anymore. And he starts giving orders for the 11th Division, and they're all like, there is no fucking 11th Division. That's starting to happen. So remove the leader. Generals don't obey the leader. What else? Fake victories, fake ceasefires, fake peace negotiations, or very questionable peace negotiations, if you follow the argument. Real problems with potential inflation, currency problems, debt problems, and so forth. That's clearly on everybody's radar. That's the only thing Americans will really pay any attention to, is if gasoline goes to like $7. Otherwise, they're just going to eat chicken sandwiches and just watch football. What else? Allies. This is the big one. Allies start to run for cover. Spain, fuck off. You get just send. Iran said anybody can have oil. You just have to throw out the American and Israeli ambassador. Spain said fine. I think that'll apply eventually in some way to France. They're not allowing anybody to fly over Europe. NATO's over. See what I'm getting at here? Like at the end of the war, it starts to break up. It's like a mob movie when everybody just sort of goes their own way. One guy goes to the police, one guy starts to kill everybody, one guy tries to hold it together, and everybody's just in their own thing looking out for themselves. The opposition leader in Taiwan is in China. Think about that for a minute. The opposition leader, not the leader of Taiwan, but the leader that's against Chinese involvement, is in China. Why? Because they're going to run out of fucking energy in 3 months. Taiwan is over as it stands. This is why this is all in the balance. Like Israel wants them to just keep blowing everything up, but Taiwan needs natural gas and oil, so they wouldn't need a ceasefire like really fast. They need to get some oil and gas there. South Korea, same thing. Japan, everywhere you look, they're starting to make new arrangements. Japan will go dark in, I don't know, a couple months. You can't build Subarus without oil and gas. So nobody knows the outcome of this. Before Appomattox, Lee and Grant sent, I think, 3 letters back and forth to each other. Because Lee thought that he was going to have like some say, and then Grant was like, no, it's unconditional. Like, we can meet and talk about it, but it's just, you're going to surrender and we're going to set the terms, period. And Lee was sort of like from a different age. He thought more like in a European, like, gallantry kind of a way. Let's just sort this thing out. It's been a big misunderstanding. And Grant was like, no, it's not a misunderstanding at all. But that's a whole nother thing. But I think we're in that stage where I don't understand how this is really going to lay out. You know, maybe Iran wants to wind it down and just use their own political and religious influence. I think it's really, really hard to tell. I think we're probably all, but there's lots of signs that here's another way to look at it. What other chapters of the war on terror could there be? Not very many. What are we going to do? Like invade the Congo or something? It's just getting goofier and nobody can fucking stand it anymore. Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, the Republicans, this, that. It's amazing how quiet the Democrats are. Somebody said in Substack, do the Democrats even exist? No. They're just a filter. They're just all the liberal emotion goes in there and just bounces off the walls and nothing happens. That's what it's like a fish trap or like a fly trap. Everybody flies in there because they smell the bait or whatever, and then they get in there and just buzz around and they can't get out. That's what the Democratic Party is. It's a completely worthless operation. It may change. I don't know. But so here I'll set up sort of a thing for Sunday. When you look at how America works with Israel has no plans on doing what Washington, D.C. tells it to do. Israel is like America's egregore. You know how people say things like, if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to create it? Well, we created it because Israel is sort of what America wants to be. Believe it or not, we want to live in this world where the haves have it and everybody else is a Palestinian. And very, very few Americans are really socialists in any way, shape, or form. Like getting some health care is considered socialist, right? Like just some sort of reasonable access to health care and education is like socialist. Everybody really believes in the same thing, and it's Luciferian. America, that's what I'm going to do Sunday. America is Luciferian. America's just, if you don't make a deal, we will blow up your entire nation, your entire civilization will come to an end. That's Lucifer. That's the guy. That's the demon, the fallen angel that just is at war with God and at war with its fellow man and at war with reality and with war of the universe. That's who Trump is. Trump is a Luciferian. Masons, it's a pure religion of Lucifer. Americans are Luciferian. Show me somebody on TV who really talks this down. I don't even mean like, I shouldn't even say talk. Show me somebody on TV or on the internet who even gives you another reality to start to work on. That's me. Regardless of the terms of the end of the war is coming. Probably $100 oil is the new norm, just because there's been so much damage in the Middle East. High single-digit inflation is the norm. They won't publish it because everything Lucifer does is a lie. Everything is a lie. Everything is not. It's not reality. It's not even a manipulation of reality. It's an attack on reality. It's never-ending lies. Things that are, there's $4 trillion of private equity that is gated, and now they're going to tokenize it and give it to. Everything is a lie. The whole financial system. The whole way our government works is a lie. I'm not like presenting some other alternative political vision. I'm telling you, like, everything is just going to come back into a kind of like what is reality and what isn't reality. And everything on TV is a lie. Bloomberg, MSNBC, Fox News, CNBC, Procter and Gamble commercials, Geico, college football, like it's everything is a lie. Chicken sandwiches, it's just everything is a chicken sandwich with 52 chemicals in it. So it's addictive. And if you're not addicted to it, you like take a bite out of it and you're like, what the fuck even is this? It's like not chicken. That's how it works, people. Everything is Luciferian. So the question is, will like the Luciferian system win out? I know I'm flying pretty high here. We'll calm down here in a minute. Will the Luciferian system win against not just Islam, but specifically Persia? And their fundamental religion is not Islam; it's Zoroastrianism that sees the universe as a more so than Christianity sees the universe just in terms of a battle between good and evil. Interesting, isn't it? The Luciferians, the people that say Steve Miller says we can do whatever we want. The Moran paper, we can do whatever we want. J.D. Vance, we can do whatever we want. Trump, we can do whatever we want. It's all Luciferian. Alex Clark, we're going to just blow up whoever we want. ADL guy, Jonathan Greenblatt, we should just start blowing up people's pagers and cell phones in their face. They have no respect for the law. There is no law to them. None. So it'll be interesting to see, can they even create a ceasefire? Can they even create the conditions where anybody would listen to these people? Like you sit here and go, well, maybe we need the 25th. Who's going to execute the 25th Amendment thing? Who's going to execute on Epstein? The Epsteiners run the FBI. They're not like over in the basement, like doing something, they are the FBI. And has America and the rest of the world like gonna be able to confront that? I don't know. I mean, by saying we're going to destroy your civilization, is that finally like the thing that breaks the Judeo-Christian? I'm describing it as Luciferian. Judeo-Christian really means we can do whatever we want. We have the chosenness of the Jews and we have the righteousness of the Christians or something like that. And we just mix that together. And however it works out for us, we're always on the right side of that. We don't answer to anybody. We don't answer to the Torah or to the New Testament. I don't know that. I don't know. But I will say it's over the next 100 years, you're going to see the answer to that question. It's basically like whether a civilization can exist with almost no collective reality to it. Just everybody does whatever they want, whenever they want. I know it's weird, but it's almost like Nick Saban saying, I'm not going to coach these guys that are just going to fucking go from team to team for the next $1 million. It's what I'm getting at. Like, if everything is just the devil take the hindmost and everybody's just going to take whatever they can get, like, can that even hold itself together? I really don't know. I'm leaning towards no. I guess like the fourth turning guys were like, yeah, this is what this is. And then the Gen Z has to make a whole new system from zero, not just like tweak move it to the left or something. Like they're just going to like rebuild with zero, zero from zero. So we'll do some weird shit. We'll do some Luciferian stuff. There's an interesting book called The Lucifer Principle, written by the rock and roll, what are they called? Not productionist, but publicist. The publicist for every rock group you've ever heard of from 1968 to 1988 was created by this guy who wrote a book called The Lucifer Principle. Go check that out. So we'll talk about that on Sunday. But finance, we have private equity. Private equity might actually, if you don't know anything about private equity, just know this. It's called private equity, and they go out and they get a couple $100 billion or whatever it is, and then they borrow against that like 5 to 1, 7 to 1. Hedge funds do the same thing and then make trades and buy and sell things. Private equity does that, and borrows all this money, and then they buy up car dealerships, dental firms, small med centers, whatever. And after running 0% interest rates for 15 years coming out of 2008, believe it or not, 0% interest rates doesn't really grow the economy like growing industry or like real wealth creation. What 0% interest rates does is create wealth for leveraged speculators. People that don't really how to do anything, they know how to roll up other people's stuff that makes stuff and makes money. And the question is, as part of this overall thesis of, it's sort of like the war on terror is a giant private equity operation. We're just going to borrow money. We borrowed $37 trillion to like take over the world. I don't know if it's going to work. It could be that all private equity doesn't live through the next cycle. That's why they're going to tokenize it, put it in your 401k. Venture capital is a form of it's a different thing. It doesn't use leverage like that. It uses enormous amounts of equity and sort of therefore takes over startups, and it leverages them not with debt, but like leverages them with like more and more and more equity so that the founders lose control and then they get to flip the thing in 3 years. That's not really working all that well either. So now all this finance that grew out of the 0% interest rates that has come out of the war on terror is like real estate that nobody understands, private equity that nobody understands, stock valuations nobody understands, tech valuations nobody understands. And it's just this kind of, again, Luciferian world where nobody really knows if anything is real. So we'll see. I don't think I can turn. Let me see if I can. I mean, what do you people think? DM me after this. Like, will the ceasefire hold? I don't know. Has Donald Trump ever done anything that turned out to did he ever keep his word with anything? Are these people even capable? Lavrov, uh, the foreign minister of Russia, says that America and the greater West, but specifically America, is, how did he say it? unable to they're unable to be contractual. They're unable to maintain any contract, any sort of negotiation. You can't trust them. They're Luciferian. They'll just swindle you, jazz you, uh, give the Trump handshake where he pulls you in, all that, and none of it's real. None of it. I mean, Trump is barely like a functioning, before he ran for office, barely a functioning um, developer, because so many banks wouldn't do business with him. The only bank that would do business with him is Deutsche Bank, which has a reputation of maybe being some sort of just giant intelligence operation or something. It's so upside down and has no equity. It's going to go bankrupt like any minute for the last 25 years. Deutsche Bank and a lot of shady red mafia equity is what Trump ran on. He can't really do business with anybody. And now he's in charge of the world. So can he get a deal done? But blowing up a lot of Iran might have, and then stopping may have been the goal. You get the joke? Like we're not really like in a war. We don't really like have to destroy the enemy. We just have to turn everything into like a fucked up Libya, including America. Follow me? Like Libya's sort of run by a bunch of like warlords and shit. America's run by a bunch of private equity lords. It's sort of the same thing. So I think they're due to have direct talks in Pakistan on Friday. Uh, maybe as I'm about to post this thing here of a little evangelical church with a Trump flag and a Israeli flag, and you're like, what does the nation of Israel even have to do with an evangelical church? Well, I've spent a lot of time on here telling you that they're the same thing. They're the same thing. Israel is like America's egregore. It's like what we've always wanted to be, whether we want to admit it or not. We're free. We're free to do whatever we want in face of the Constitution, race, other nations, God, reality, anything. We are just free. God made it this way. We're chosen. We're in the promised land. We have slaves. Sorry about that. That was a bad look, but nobody really cares. And we don't use the N word. But we're basically Israel light. That's a pretty good way to say it. America is Israel light. If Abby Martin started some sort of political party that probably gained some sort of, backing, she'd probably be in a car accident. You know what I mean? And just get rid of her. So I don't know. Like, think about it. Like, how long can you just run the world on force? It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy answer. Like the movie The Irishman, which is a little slow, but it's actually really well done. And at the end of it, and Joe Pesci's character is so perfectly well played. He has a role in that movie. It's a little bit above De Niro for like the first time in your life. Like, like in Casino, they go out in the desert and they like shout at each other and have one of those fucking epic shouting matches that they're so good at. But in The Irishman, he's real calm and and Robert De Niro reports to him. And then Pacino is, of course, Hoffa. And then they have this scene where Pesci's just like, it's what it is. Like, you're either going to do this or they'll take you out. And Hoff is like, they would never. And, we don't, I don't know. Is this like the Jimmy Hoffa moment for the United States? Have we finally gotten into a it's what it is kind of a moment with Russia and China? On the other hand, China needs the oil. So China may tell Iran, make a fucking deal because we're going to run out of oil. China doesn't want $300 oil. China doesn't want Iran to like liquidate Saudi Arabia and run oil to lower the production of oil by 15 or 20%. It would cause a economic catastrophe. But I don't know, maybe the Iranians are just going to go back into like Zoroastrianism and just be like, look, everybody, this is a battle between good and evil, and we're going to settle it. And it's what it is. So there's, I like to reference at least 3 or 4 mafia movies in all of my lives. And usually they're, based on Coppola and Scorsese and others. Didn't do Stanley Kubrick today, but we could probably work on that. Yeah, so like, okay, let's do that. So like Trump is, Jack going through the maze with his axe. But also if you get the joke of the movie, there's like some sort of ghosty thing that runs the Overlook Hotel. And Jack is just like the madman inside it. I think that's a pretty good place to start. I think that's who Trump is. But I think there's these other people that we don't really, I don't know, the Rothschilds or something like that. There's these other people that are really calling the shots. It's not, they wouldn't let the Donald Trump like Joe Biden, just these crazy, apparently pedophile assholes run the world and make all the decisions. No, I just can't get that through my head. So America's probably going to muddle through inflation. Politics will probably be more of a local game. I think finance is going to become more of a local thing. The private equity sort of gets all sideways. All the AI shit is now sideways. The Mag 7 is sort of sideways at best. So, Friday and Saturday, we'll tell you about some of the things that have, I can't do these things myself that we're working on, and it's been very hard to find people to work with. If you get up in the morning, you tell people that the Mag 7 is not really worth $25 trillion. They go like, who are you? Well, and then you start to explain yourself. You just dig a bigger hole. Well, Tesla's not really worth $1.5 trillion. Oh, yes, it is. It's going to make robots and this, that, and that. It's like, no, it's probably worth about as same as Subaru, which is what I'm sitting in right now. How so? It's like a niche car company. Well, that can't be. That means it's worth 99% less. And you can't have these conversations with Americans. Everything's Luciferian. You have to believe in the big vision, and we're going to mine asteroids and everything. It's really a hard place to work if you want to do anything based in reality. But it's what it is. Yeah. So see you Friday night. We'll do The Nationalist Saturday at noon. We'll do Leaves of Grass Sunday. We'll do, I don't know what I should call Sunday. I used to do Church and State, but that's too That's too white guy. I think it's 1,000 years together. I think I like that better. So have a nice week. DM me, send me emails if you want to. We have a group in Austin that's coming together. So at some point, probably Friday night, I'm going to announce that instead of contacting me, if you want to get involved with us directly and you want to like be a member, use our AI, etc., we'll give you a contact for that. So have a nice week. So is there any music on? Pittsburgh loves its classic rock. Not feeling it.
If we have a hard time with that, what does the extra volume bring in, you know?
So
Cristo vive.
this is the church in Latrobe. It's a monastery and a basilica. They have their own radio station.
Christ is alive. That is what is quickened. That is what quickened the pace of Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. That is what made them return in haste to tell the news. That is what made them lay aside their mournful gait and sad looks. They returned to the city to meet up with the others.
Ognuno di noi ha entrato nel proprio sepolcro. Invito a uscire.
So Western PA is very Catholic and very Orthodox, very like, it's probably part of my content is because of that it's sort of lost in like old European worldviews. And St. Vincent is the university where the Steelers practice, and it's the biggest Benedictine monastery. It's one of the biggest monasteries, and I think it's the biggest monastery in North America. So that's sort of interesting.
Share to reveal that it is true. The Lord is alive. He is living, and he wants to rise again in all those faces that have buried hope.
There you go. I don't know who. He sounds Italian, whoever. It doesn't sound like the Pope is speaking. But all right, Friday, the Nationalist. See you then.